everyone, and welcome to Korean Film Council's official podcast, Korean Cinema Today. My name is Jun Kim, and I'm the co-host to our show, along with Piers Conran. We both write for KoFIC's English news website, KoBiz, at koreanfilm.or.kr. Hi, Piers. How are you?
I'm great, June. Thanks very much. So hello, everyone. I'm Pierce. And before we start, we'd just like to remind you that there's plenty of you can find about Korean film on the site, which is once again is koreanfilm.or.kr. You can get up-to-date information, get news, interviews, features, plenty more for webzine and the digital magazine. And you can also sign up for our newsletter and listen again to this podcast.
That's right. And also don't forget to follow and like us through our social media accounts, including Facebook at facebook.com/kobiz.kofic or on our Twitter handle, twitter.com/KoreanFilmBiz. That's BIZ.
And we have today with us a terrific guest. He's very generously given us a little bit of his time. He's only here for a very short time. So I would like, it is my pleasure to introduce the co-director of the Sitges Festival Internacional de Cinema de Catalunya, Mike Hostench. So Mike, it's a great pleasure to have you with us here.
Well, thank you very much after this presentation, man. I hope I deliver.
Well, I have no doubt about it. So as I've already mentioned, you are, of course, the co-director of one of the world's most important film events, certainly the major fantastic or genre film festival in Europe. But I know that's not the only thing you're up to these days. Could you fill us in on a few more of your activities?
Well, yeah, I've written a few films. A couple of them have made it finally to the big screen. Not very good, actually, I must say. So I would say that being a scriptwriter is kind of a hobby for me. Okay, so that's my chimie. So it's horror, as you said, is what I really like and what I like writing as my chimie. But it's true. The other things I like doing is producing. I don't do it all the time, but I've been involved in a couple of productions. Lately, I've done Asmodexia, which is a horror film that was in PFAN last year, and I'm very proud to say that I'm also executive producer of a horror film called Baskin. That is a Turkish production by an incredibly talented filmmaker called Jan Evernol, who is a very young but very promising director.
Certainly, it's a project I'm looking forward to. And of course, I got to see Asmodexia last year when you were when you presented it in PFAN. That was quite a treat.
So moving on to the next question, what are some of the Korean films that were programmed at your festival in previous years that received the most buzz or went to other international film festivals and received recognition?
I mean, the films, we have been programming a lot of Korean films. As there is a lot of people that, at least the Korean experts like you guys or Darcy Packett, they know that Sitges was one of the first European festivals in programming a Korean film. In this case, was Insect Woman by Kim Ki-young.
You got it right.
Kim Ki-young, sorry. And I think that was 1972, and the main actress won Best Actress in Sitges. So after that, I would say that when all the big, let's call it the big bang of the Korean cinema, at least from the Westerners' angle, since then we have been programming a lot. I would say that the most important one, obviously, like everywhere else in the world, was Old Boy in 2004 after winning the special jury award in Cannes. That Quentin Tarantino actually was the president of the jury, and he was insisting to give the award to the film. That would be definitely a turning point for the Catalan and Spanish audience towards Korean movies. Other important screenings. I would say Bong Joon-ho's The Host was very important because it was a film that it was the most important success box office return for a Korean film in Spain. That it was pretty impressive. It was $2 million for a Korean film is something really big. But that was 2006 before the economic downturn, so things have changed since then.
Actually, it's worth mentioning, you already said the Insect Woman. Actually, Sitges is kind of part of Korean film history there because that is actually one of my favorite Korean films.
Me too, yeah.
And were it not for Sitges, I would never have seen it because the only copy that exists is the print that went to Sitges and with the Spanish subtitles. So thank you for that.
No, and not only that, I mean, to all the Korean friends here that are listening, they should know that the Kim Ki-young box set, the red one that you can buy here in Korea, has this exact version. So if there is any Spanish expat around, they should know that it has the Spanish subtitles, as you said. Yeah,
absolutely. So now, The Insect Woman, of course, that's a genre film, and Sitges programs a lot of genre horror fantasy films. So what is your take on kind of that scene these days in Korea? Do you think there are kind of ways that it could change change?
It has in the last 10 years it has all these up and downs, as you know. Maybe at this moment we are more in the down than in the up. It has its high point, I think, in the mid 2000s. We're talking K-horror now. I mean, that's what I mean. So now I see that I think it will go up again because there is a lot of young talent that really wants to do genre. There is some exceptions. Recently, Killer Toons was okay, for example. I think it's a film. Or what was this one that you made a review recently about this family that is chased by a psychopath? I forgot. Anyway, so so there is a couple of exceptions. So I think it will go up again because the genre is kind of cinema that the young talent is interested. You just have to go to PIFAN and see all this energy from young film goers, and most of them are also interested in filmmaking. The problem I see now is in the script. I mean, a script should be the king in genre, and because honestly, in Korea, direction, I take it for granted. I mean, the talent is there. Not only directing, also all the films look very good. So I take it for granted in a Korean film. But the problem is normally the script, especially in genre.
I remember asking you some kind of a similar question last year during our interview for KoBiz, and you also mentioned that the script was a problem. Yeah. But I'm just wondering, has there been any change from last year to this year?
Unfortunately not. If we're talking genre, I think there is no exception. The last horror films I've seen, okay, as a Korean film fan, I always find, I'm not very demanding, I have to say that. If you just put the horror there, you will make Mike Hostench happy. But we have to be a little bit demanding. And the last horror films I've seen are not very satisfying. That's true. And normally, again, the script is a problem because they look good. They look very good.
That's right. Well, going back to having Sitges introduce Korean films to Catalonia and Spain beyond the festival, and we talked about the host briefly, and it helped certain Korean titles get local distribution there. And what are your comments on having Korean films being successful? Well,
I'm very proud that even in the middle of this economic downturn that Catalonia and Spain are living right now, we're still living it because some countries are recovering. It's not our case. I'm so proud that, for example, films like New World or The Fake have found distribution right after the screening in Sitges, distribution in Spain, in the Spanish territory. And I'm so proud of that. And the company, yeah, it's true because I mean there is some people investing money in that, and you know, especially in this horrible financial environment we're living, that's something, and I'm very happy, and it happened right after the screening in Sitges, and most of them also have been awarded in Sitges. So yeah, I would like to think that Sitges is relevant and in terms of industry to get these films distributed in Spain. So this is one of our main goals, and especially the Korean ones because we love them. Yeah.
And are these films getting much of a theatrical reception, or is this kind of mostly confined? I know there's quite a few films are getting kind of the VOD treatment in Spain.
Well, yeah. Again, the crisis has really hit hard in terms of theatrical distribution, but even in this scenario, some of these films have been released theatrically with only 3-4 prints. Well, prints, we don't call it prints anymore, but 3 or 4 theaters, mostly maybe 1 in Barcelona, 1 in Madrid, or 2 in Barcelona and 2 in Madrid. Yes, New World had a theatrical distribution, very, very small. The Fake, Hangok Ju also, which is one of the best Korean films in ages.
Absolutely.
And I love that film. And it's going to be released now, but it's going to have a theatrical distribution. Who else recently? Well, some of the new acquisitions have had the theatrical distribution. Obviously, has nothing to do with the wide distribution that, for example, The Host had in 2006. That was huge. That was a huge success for a Korean film. But well, even with these limited runs, we are happy that they are still there.
Absolutely. And Sitges is, of course, a huge part of that kind of push for Korean films being seen by Spanish viewers. Now, Korean genre cinema compared to other countries, why is it that kind of Korean genre cinema became so well liked in Europe? And I guess this is something that began 10 or 15 years ago. What do you see as the elements that made that happen?
Yeah. I think there is two. One has to, or is related with, if you allow me to say that. Obviously, I'm not a sociologist or a historian, but has to do a lot with the personality of Korean people themselves. I think, and Korean arts, they normally take the emotions to the limit in any kind of genre or any kind of cinematic language. You can see that. This is why the Boksu films are so famous, because they take the revenge to the limit in the emotional field, you know. Mm-hmm. So you can see that, you can detect that, and this is also this is a synonymous of being authentic. So it's like this is something that people detected from the first films. The first ones, I'm talking about the new wave of Korean movies. They detected that in action films first, like Shiri, for example. It was. You could see all this emotional thing completely overblown in a good way. Okay, then it got more into the dramas, like all the sympathies series, and now you can see it also in melodramas, also, and sometimes even in comedies. So I think this is really appealing, as this is something really authentic, and the Western audiences understood that. And the second reason that people really likes Korean movies is, as I told you, because they look really good. They are well directed, they are well acted, and the production design, cinematography is always fantastic. So even the not very good films, they look very good. And this is something that people detect. Something that, by the way, doesn't happen now, for example, in Japan, that I think they have just exactly the opposite problem. I say they even the semi-good big Japanese films, you feel the grain, feels like it's done for TV. And of course, there is many exceptions. All the Tsukamotos, Mikes, Sonos, all their films are fantastic, obviously. Or the Naomi Kawases, if we're getting more art house, all that. This is but generally, the Japanese commercial cinema now looks bad.
Yeah, it's true. Japanese cinema, used to be kind of on the cutting edge of kind of the visual thing back in the 50s, the 60s. We talk about Kurosawa and any other number of directors.
Absolutely.
But that's certainly shifted. And I guess there's this kind of current of throughout the ages, these kind of different periods when a different kind of Asian powerhouse kind of emerges. For in the 90s we had Hong Kong.
Oh yeah.
And is it still the era of Korea, or do you think China's kind of sweeping in now?
Well, not yet. Obviously, I watch and I love Japanese movies, Hong Kong and China movies, and I don't think there is going to be a shift quite soon about that. I would say that Korea now is probably what interests more, especially to the media in the Western world. But I would say that China is still not there for doing a comeback. Okay, when I mean China, I mean include Hong Kong. I mean Hong Kong, China. Of course, they have very good films now. Some of them are very, very good, and they also look very good, even the not very good ones. This is also something that Hong Kong has. But I would say not yet. Of course, you have the Chiang Wang and all these great directors that they are doing incredibly powerful and intense films, but they are not still there to do this. Let's call it the new. Let me say something. The other day I was checking my books on Korean movies, and there is this book that is very important called from 2002 called Korean Cinema: The New Hong Kong.
Oh,
so
yeah,
this is the perception. That. This is the perception that we had in 2002, that Korea was becoming the new Hong Kong. So I don't think it's not the moment that China is becoming the new Korea.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's no question that you have passion for Korean films, and especially your stuff about genre films and horror films. But are there any filmmakers that you're following or that are your favorites?
Yes, actually. Probably my answers would be quite obvious, because Pierce is more familiar with young filmmakers that I maybe saw their films, but I'm not that familiar with the names. But for example, your very good friend Lee Sang-woo, for example, I think he's someone that we have to follow. I mean, he's going somewhere good. I mean, obviously he's very talented, as his films are very controversial in a good way. The Sitges controversial is good. And I think as a young filmmaker, still in the maverick territory, I think he's someone we should follow. Of the people who is more known or with bigger films, obviously I would say, I wrote it because sometimes I will try to make the best pronunciation, okay? I think it's obvious, Sang Ho-young, for example, he's been awarded in Sitges, he's been in Cannes, but I think his someone we should follow. And Seoul Station is the film that everybody is waiting for.
Absolutely.
Okay? Park Hong-chung, I was so impressed about New World. Obviously, it's a big film, so I'm not very original saying names like that here, And Lee Sang-woo, and if we're talking more about the most art house territory yet, I would say that he's the one we should follow,
Absolutely. So actually, this can dovetail well into the next question. The Korean film industry is very much split in the kind of the commercial and the indie sector.
Yeah.
And this has both positive points, but there's also some kind of criticisms leveled at this. How would you see kind of, or how would you rate the kind of health of these two industries?
Well, I have to admit that most of my opinion, or my humble opinion, should come from what I read from you, I would say, especially the indie part, because I receive some films indirectly because the companies, even very small ones, they send me. But I agree with the analysis you normally do in your website. Of course, it's difficult to struggle from the indie trench here in Korea. That's very difficult. But the talent is there, and if the foreign festivals support it, they are going to go places. That's for sure. About the other trench, let's call it the major company ones, I would say that they have to struggle with their own success now. It's so huge that I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Where is the future leading us with successes like Roaring Currents, for example? So. What's next? So I don't know. I strongly suggest the listeners to get into modernkoreancinema.com and read Pierre's analysis on independent. Because I agree. As you explained very well, what's the problem all these young filmmakers has in the industry. Yeah.
I guess one thing I'd be curious to pick your brain about. One film I'm sure you're a big fan of is Bedeviled.
Of course, sorry.
Bedeviled.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so that's from director Jung Joos.
Yes,
and so that was his debut film. It was very successful on the indie circuit. He also did quite a bit of money here for an indie film, of course.
Yeah.
He managed to kind of make that jump into the commercial mainstream with a huge hit called Secretly Greatly, a very different film. So how do you feel about that? About someone who kind of makes their chops with a smaller film and then has to kind of take on a very different style in the kind of commercial industry?
I think he's very daring doing that. Obviously, the step is brave, but he's not super brave in terms that it was a big film, Secretly Greatly. I mean, it was a film. It was I don't remember the budget, probably but it's a huge film that it was distributed in hundreds of theaters in Korea. I was surprised. I really hope. Or I would love that the film would be slightly better than it is, especially in the script side. I think it's well acted, but I think the script still has some problems there. But I like it a little bit more than everybody else, probably. I like the subject. I think the concept and the idea of the film is good. About changing all this, changing completely your style, not your style, but at least your the kind of movie you're making. Well, I think it's daring and it's brave and I think he did a good job technically. I think so. But it's true that Bedeviled was how do you pronounce it? Sorry, Bedeviled.
Bedeviled.
Bedeviled was a great film. It combined there is something Kinky Young there, all this thing about the island and these ladies and all that, and I think that was fantastic. And it was also all the horror at the end. I really like this film. And honestly, I think that it was the last Korean film that sold well internationally. That sold very well.
It did,
very well. I'm talking very well. In terms of genre, okay? I think it was the last one. But okay, so I think he's a very daring guy doing this, or taking this step,
So I guess because why I mentioned it is 10 years ago, we had filmmakers like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook who were just obviously had this very kind of individualistic approach to filmmaking, but they were also afforded the opportunity to kind of do what they wanted. Do you think that kind of freedom is potentially lacking in today's kind of commercial industry?
I don't know. I mean, we should see what Park Chan-wook is doing next, probably to judge this or to make this judgment. That's a good question. If we're talking about the big names, I think they can do this kind of shifting. They can do that.
I mean, what about new names?
New names is a little bit more difficult. For example, I think so. I think people will be expecting more or less what they did before successfully. I think so. Yeah, of course, especially in Korea. I think it's even more difficult. Yeah.
So next question, which Korean films are you looking forward to this year, and what are some underrated Korean genre titles from 2014?
Sure. I think, as I mentioned before, I think Seoul Station is a film that everybody's waiting for. It's going to be very, very important. By the way, I know a couple of things that I have to tell you later about that. I had a few meetings today. So Obviously, I mean, there is another one that everybody's expecting. There's the new Na Hong Jing.
That's gonna be Goksong for the moment. We might get an English title later.
Yep, that's going to be important. There is another Kim Ki-duk, of course, that we all expect for after One-on-One. There is another one. Oh, by the way, also by the same director as Seoul Station. In the middle, you know, he's got this other film about this Train to Busan, I think.
Right. It's tentatively called Busan Bound.
Busan Bound.
It's actually a live-action, big-budget sequel to Seoul Station, which is an animated film.
Yeah.
We're talking about director Yeon Sang-ho, who made The Fig and The King of Pigs.
Yeah. And with this fantastic producer of poetry that, in the most incredible coincidence in the world, we met in a barbecue in Hongdae the other night, eating at the table next to us. That's incredible. Yeah. Of course, Pierce recognized them, and we start talking to them. The guys were completely... Someone from Sitges, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
That was a great anecdote. So yes, I mean that another film that I'm really expecting. By the way, I really liked this is an old one now, but I really like Royal Taylor. Thank you very much for the recommendation. I really like it. Now, but about new films, what else could be? Yes, there is another one called Treacherous Subject. Fine Cut is handling it, and it's an erotic thriller.
Yeah, this is a period film.
Yeah, exactly. It's a period erotic thriller, and that one I'm really, really looking forward also. Yeah.
Good. Lots of period films coming up. So those are the ones you're looking forward to. What about some of the smaller gems from the last year?
About smaller films, for example, I really like Night Flight. It was in Sitges. People probably will consider, what was this film doing in Sitges? But we also do a lot of art house that sometimes is not exactly genre and all that, but if it's Korean, and also all the gay context of these films and all that for Sitges is also very good because it's another thing that we have some kind of a small section. It's not really a section, but we do that because Sitges is a gay mecca, as you know. So we also do that. And I really like the director. And I thought that this guy, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but it's
Lee Sung-hee.
Okay. Yeah. So it was a good film, and I think he's going places. Sorry again, I don't remember the name, but this lady, she was assistant director of Kim Ki-duk, and we also had her film in Sitges, Unbound, I think it was called. Unbound or Unforgiven. I really like this film, and it's produced by Kim Ki-duk, actually.
Was it Godsend?
Godsend,
yeah.
Sorry, Godsend. Godsend, for example, is a very good film, and I thought she got some style there, and I really like it. And what else? Well, of course, Lee Sang-woo, man. Of course. I know you're doing some stuff now, so it's. I'm really looking forward to watching.
I hope not to disappoint you in future.
No, of course not.
So, of course, you've been, this has been very evident during this discussion, is that you are a very keen follower of Korean cinema, and you've been so for many, many years. So, I mean, as kind of an overview, how do you think the kind of industry has changed in these last 10, 15 years?
Well, they have to deal with, in the past, with different things, some of them good, some of them bad. I would say that in the first half of these 10 years, you're saying, obviously they were on the peak of the Korean industry internationally. I mean, I'm talking from an international point of view, not about the local box office and all that. And local box office have been going up and up and up, and international sales just was in the opposite direction. It was on the wane all the time. And they have to deal with this. And in terms of international sales, they also have to live with the shrinking of the home video market. That's also you can see that.
There's almost no physical market.
Exactly, there is almost no. It's probably going to stay there for another 4 or 5 years, but it's going to disappear probably in 5 years. So, but obviously the appearance of all these IPTV platforms and all that, I mean, this has also changed the Korean film market because they are doing very well, especially if you compare the figures in online and IPTV distribution in Korea. They are quite higher than other countries.
Yeah, it is quite impressive.
Yes, it's very impressive, and it's you can see that when you talk to the companies. Basically, that saved the industry.
Yeah.
So
it's also important for smaller films.
Yes, absolutely. I was talking today with some company here in Korea, and they agreed. For example, we were talking about different titles. They said, for example, this is going to be very good for IPTV. Okay, and then this is the part, especially for the smaller films, as you said. And then they also had to cope with their own success, as we said before, of the box office. So this is another thing that has transformed or has changed the industry completely, because we saw the figures in about 6 years ago, and they were very impressive, but nothing compared with it. Now it's madness. It's complete madness.
So do you mean there could be a thing where when the industry peaked before the current peak, it peaked in around 2006, and there was like a 63% local market share, and like it was a very big theatrical market at that point. And then things kind of took a dive after that, partly because there were criticisms of too many big budget films, people kind of getting a little big for their boots. Do you think that something like that could happen again?
Yes, I think so. I think we're going there. I think so. Yeah.
Too many blockbusters?
Yeah, maybe too many. It's complicated to say too many, because it's like saying this guy is earning too much money. Nobody's earning too much money, so too many. From an artistic point of view, okay, I admit that. It's not that I'm against commercial things, not at all. I mean, some of them are masterpieces, exactly the same as the art house movies. But it is true that if there is too much blockbusters, the companies become greedy, and they always take the direction of the movies that were successful the year before. And this compromises art, that's for sure. We have to admit that, okay? But the industry expanding and getting bigger and bigger, that's good at the end of the day. That's good. But maybe from an art point of view, that could compromise it a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Because now, for example, as you said, if the epic films are the big thing now everybody's doing all this epic stuff. Some of them are good, but I'm sure some of them are kind of dull. So.
Well, sure, there always has to be kind of a two sides to the coin.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, unfortunately, we are down to our last question. What are some of your very favorite Korean films?
Okay, one is here on the table, and it's an obvious option or an obvious decision because
Mike went shopping today.
Yeah, a little bit. So the Hanyo, everybody loves the house.
The housemaid.
Yeah, it's impossible not liking this film. That is so good. The first time I saw it was in Udine Film Festival in 2002, and then in 2003. Then I decided to screen it in Sitges and 35 millimeter, and. By the way, Darcy Puckett was in that screening because he was a juror in Sitges, and I'm very happy that we screened that, and it was definitely one of the most historical screenings in Sitges. I love this film. I love it so much. Who wouldn't? I mean, there's no one in the world that likes film that wouldn't like this film. There is other films that I like. We mentioned Insect Woman. Yoido is the other Kim Ki-young film that I really like. Yoido Island, yeah. I really like this one. If we're getting more into the modern territory, because I like some classics also. I have to admit that I buy these box sets when I'm here. So I like Kim Ki-young, and I like Im Tak-wook. Sorry, how do you pronounce it?
Im Gon-tak.
Im Gon-tak, sorry. And some of these directors I really like them. If we get more into the modern territory, I think my opinion will be varied, all the typical ones, because they are so good. I mean, who wouldn't like Memories of Murder? Who wouldn't like all these films that have influenced us so much in the recent times? Even more reason. There is a film that the first time I saw it, I didn't really, it really impressed me. It didn't really impress me that much. And on the second viewing, I was really impressed. And it's A Girl at My Door. That's and it's. I saw it in Cannes. Maybe I was not really in the mood for that screening or something. And then I watched it again on DVD at home, and I really like this film.
I'm very glad to hear that. Of course, that was my favorite last year.
It's the epitome of the new Korean drama. I mean, you can put it as an example in a film school as what is a good Korean drama. But I would say my favorite is Hang On-ju recently of the Korean dramas. That's another film. But Hang On-ju would be on my top 5 list of Korean films ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
High praise indeed.
Yeah.
And I guess with that, unfortunately, we are out of time. So, Mike, thanks again so much for coming. I know you were here very, very briefly. So we're very grateful and very lucky to have you here in the studio for what was a very, very fun discussion, honestly, about Korean films. And we hope that you'll be able to join us again soon.
Oh, hopefully. And maybe in Korea, because 한국 공부해요. So I'm studying Korean,
awesome.
So maybe my Korean will be fluent in a year.
So hopefully we can record in Korean next time.
Thanks very much.
I would also like to thank our listeners for joining us today, and don't forget to follow us on our Facebook and on our Twitter. And don't forget to visit us on our website, koreanfilm.org.kr. Until next time, this has been your host, June.
And Pierce.